What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. On UFC 303 International Fight Week, Pereira versus Prochazka 2. The rematch on short notice is taking place this weekend. It's a pretty solid card. One of the more autistic cards I can remember in UFC. You know, the amount of switch-ups. We've had the main event turn from Conor vs Chandler into Yuri vs Alex. We had the co-main event turn from Jamal Hill vs Khalil Roundtree into Diego Lopes versus Brian Ortega. We had that previously mentioned Khalil Roundtree versus Jamal Hill fight turn into Anthony Smith versus Roman Dolidze. So yeah, this card's been an absolute fucking shit show to put together. It's been a shit show to even get here, to be honest. I still wouldn't be surprised if someone else fucking pulled out. We're probably going to end up with Roman Dolidze versus Joe Pyfer or some shit like that. But regardless, I'm going to go through the entire card, give my predictions and breakdown of every single matchup. And yeah, it's a pretty solid card, so let's get into it. Now, the first fight on the card is Vinicius Oliveira versus Ricky Simón, and I'm really looking forward to this fight. This shit's going to be a banger. I've been talking about this for a hot minute. I actually put this as one of the fights in my top 20 fights coming up that I'm most excited for. I had it around the back end, but still, I'm very excited for this fight, and I'm really interested to see how Vinicius Oliveira is going to do with this jump up, because he's 20-3 compared to Ricky Simón, who's 20-5. Obviously, Ricky Simón's 20-5 record comes against much better competition, but he's on a 2-fight loss streak. He hasn't won since July 2022, so he's almost been 2 years without a win. Vinicius Oliveira's got momentum. He's coming off one of the best KOs of the year against Bernardo Sopai. That was a flying knee KO, brutal stuff. He didn't look amazing in that fight, but that was the debut. I feel like that was him getting the UFC nerves out of the way, getting the octagon jitters out of the way, and I do think he's going to look a lot better here, and I'm actually picking him as a pretty big underdog. He's sitting at around plus 180, and I'm going to pick him to get the KO over Ricky Simón, and the reason why I say that is because Ricky Simón, he's a good fighter, right? But he's primed to get KO'd. I know, I'm not saying Vinicius Oliveira is the level of striker at Song Yadong's level, but Song Yadong was dropping this dude all over the place. This guy gets dropped. Mario Bautista was cracking him a lot. He got KO'd by Uriah Faber. He lost to Rob Font. I do think this guy is just beatable on the feet. Very beatable on the feet. And look, could I see him just wrestling Vinicius Oliveira, taking him down a whole bunch? Yes, that's the boring way this fight goes. I think that's the way most people are picking this fight to go, which is fair enough. A lot of people don't want to be picking a guy coming in off one fight in the UFC, not looking that good. But I just rate his striking a lot higher than Ricky Simón's, and I think his finishing potential is way higher, and Ricky Simón's defense is shit, and I just think he's going to walk onto a shot, he's going to maybe duck into a knee. Vinicius Oliveira is a guy that I can just see landing like a flying knee or an uppercut or something as Ricky Simón goes for a takedown, and just making him pay when they're on the feet. So I could see him either winning this fight on damage on the cards, and Ricky Simón, I know Ricky Simón's not a guy that normally fades, but Bautista put a pace on him, in round 3 of their fight, almost 10-8'd him, almost finished him in their fight in the 3rd round, which took place earlier this year. So he's coming off a lot of damage. Oliveira's coming off a nice KO. He's got confidence. Ricky Simón's probably not feeling himself that much. He's probably trying to just get a win. He's doubting himself, I imagine. And I do think Vinicius Oliveira, I think he might be a bit hesitant with what he's going to do in the cage. And yeah, I think Vinicius Oliveira is going to catch him with something. Not a confident pick. This is a bit of a vibes pick, a little bit of a... I mean, the last time I went with the vibes pick, it was picking fucking Ikram, and he's a bum. So that was the last time I went with a vibes pick. So by all means, if you guys think Ricky Simón's going to win, fair play. But I don't know. At the plus money that Vinicius Oliveira is at, I just rate his finishing potential too highly to think that there's not a good enough chance that he just KOs Ricky Simón or just damages him a whole bunch. And yeah, I think he's going to look a lot better here than in his debut. And it's going to be a case of people saying, oh, he looked shit against Bernardo Sopai. How was I meant to know Simón? How was I meant to know that he would beat Simón? And it's going to be a case of, guys do actually level up in their fights. So yeah, I'm picking Vinicius Oliveira to have a really good second appearance in the UFC and get a KO win to start the night off strong. But let's move on though, up the card. Next up on the card, Ray Tsuruya. That was terrible. Ray Tsuruya versus Carlos Hernandez. Ray Tsuruya is a fucking difficult name to pronounce, but he's coming off Road to UFC, and we've kind of learnt the Road to UFC ain't all that. A lot of these fighters coming off Road to UFC are bums. Angel Jubilee obviously won that tournament, lost to Mike Breeden. So this could be a similar case in the flyweight division here, but if I'm looking at two fighters I'm not saying that Angel Jubilee is comparable to Ray Tsuruya. But Japanese compared to Indian, I'm just going to back that. I'm going to back being Japanese as just a better base to be good at MMA, to be honest. So I don't think this guy's going to be just a complete bum. Maybe he loses here. I've got to go with the safe pick. I'm not going to pick two back-to-back underdogs, try and be a little bit too intricate with it, and go, oh, Carlos Hernandez has fought better opposition. I mean, yeah, that's kind of what happens with everyone until you make your UFC debut. If a guy's fought in the UFC, obviously, Carlos Hernandez lost to Tyra by TKO, got dominated on the ground round 1, finished in round 2. He beat Denise Bondar. Denise Bondar's a bit of a bum. He lost to Alan Nascimento by sub in round 1, I'm not saying that the losses are bad. Tatsuro Taira, Alan Nascimento, not bad losses, but who's he beating? Denise Bondar, Victor Altamirano's just a soy-framed, wacky fighter that's not all that. Split decision there. Split decision on the Contender Series against Daniel Perez. I don't rate him that highly. I don't rate Carlos Hernandez. That's what I'm talking about. And yeah, Ray Tsuruya, 9-0. He's undefeated. He's got the upside. He's a big favourite for good reason. Only gone to one decision in the UFC. So maybe if it gets taken late, he looks not great. But, he's coming off a win in February. So he's not been out of the cage that long. And that was against a 13-4 guy, so not an absolute can, I like that. If I'm going to your record and I'm seeing your most recent win was a fucking 10-19 opponent, I'm like, all right, maybe you get fraud checked here. But I think he'll do good enough here. I think he's being put on this card for a specific reason. He'll get a bit of a showcase. And yeah, probably the UFC wants him to get him a win, and they want to build some more Japanese stars and stuff, I guess. Maybe that's my view on this fight. Let's move on though, up the card. I'm picking him by submission. Let's move on. Next up, we got Blobs. Andrei Arlovski versus Martin Buday. I'm going to pick Martin Buday. B stands for Blob in the Buday name. Martin Blobday is who I'm calling him, and he's going to win this fight by decision. It's going to look a whole lot like someone straight out the Apex. These two, they're finally letting them escape the Apex. Martin Buday, his last fight was actually against Shamil Gaziev, who's not just an Apex NPC, and he actually fought him in front of a crowd on a pay-per-view. So, they're really pushing Martin Buday here. Really see a lot of star potential in this guy. And, I think he's going to have a dominant performance and show out impressively and call for a title shot. No, I think he's going to hold Andrei Arlovski up against the cage and just be a blob and be a fat man for 3 rounds. Should win on the scorecards. Andrei Arlovski, former champion, that was fucking 20 years ago. At this point, Andrei Arlovski, you're basically deciding, is he good enough to beat an unranked blob fighter at the Apex? Because I'm pretty sure I'm going to actually look at his record right now. This would be a good shout. He's got like 6 hours of fight time in the heavyweight division, which is kind of nuts. Fair play to him. He's putting in work, putting in numbers, but, he's approaching that 500 level record. He's 34-23. Lost 12 times by TKO, not a good look. And Buday is not a guy with massive power, but he was rocking, he was hurting Josh Parisian, who's, he's a fat man. But Arlovski on a 3-fight loss streak. This guy loves just going loss streak for win streak. It was on a 5-fight. He was on a 6-fight win streak. And then he was on a 5-fight loss streak, 2-fight win streak, 2-fight loss streak. No contest, loss, win, loss, win, win, loss, win, 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 win. So he's on that 4-fight, and now he's on a 3-fight loss streak. This is the level. Like, wins over Chase Sherman, Carlos Felipe, Jared Van Dera, Jake Collier, all by decision. And then Marcos Rogerio de Lima subbed him, Dante Almeida finished him with strikes, and Waldo Cortez Acosta beat him. I think that's just a little bit of you just kind of got to decide. Do you think Martin Buday fits into the Dante Almeida, Waldo Cortez Acosta range, or the Jake Collier range? I think it's somewhere in the middle, and I do think Buday gets to win here. It is way too much time to be spent on a fat heavyweight fight, so I'm going to move on. Martin Buday by decision is the pick. Let's move on. Next up, we got Jillian Robertson. Literally looks like the embodiment of a fentanyl addict versus Michelle Waterson Gomez. She got cake and that's all she got. That's my breakdown of this fight. I am going to go with Jillian Robertson. I got to pick the uglier woman to win the fight. That's my tried and true method, and it usually works out pretty well. So that's what I'm going to go with again here. Robertson's got the submission upside. She subs a lot of people, subs a lot of girls, finishes a lot of them on the ground. And even though Michelle Waterson Gomez, I don't hate the idea of an underdog pick with her, because she's a bit of an underdog, but she's lost 6 out of her last 7. I just can't be confident picking her. But yes, they are to very good opposition. They aren't to anyone the level of, or the low level of Jillian Robertson, sorry. But yeah, Marina Rodriguez beat her up. Luana Pinheiro split decision loss. Lemos subbed her. Rodriguez, she lost to her twice. Angela Hill split decision win. And then Carla Esparza decision loss. Joanna decision loss. Beat Carolina. She's fought a lot of good fighters in the women's division. She's fought a lot of the names. But at this stage in her career, she's old. She's getting beaten up a bunch of times. She's 38. as well. That's a terrible look. You're 38 years of age. I can't be picking you. Gillian Robertson's not all that. She has lost before. I have picked her, and she has lost when I've done that. But, who's she losing to? She's losing to Tabitha Ricci, caked up decision win on the scorecards. JJ Aldrich, not a great look. Miranda Mo. So, yeah, to be fair, the level of opposition does indicate that, Robertson probably isn't on that same level. But you kind of got to read between the lines. Gomez is 38. Robertson has got submission potential. She finishes girls on the ground. She's won her last 3 fights. She's won... All of her last 4 wins have been by finish on the ground. So, yeah, I think she'll do that again here. Be a bit too strong for Michelle Waterson-Gomez. Yeah. Gomez looked alright in the first couple minutes against Rodriguez, but then just started getting pieced up. So, I don't know. Robertson should be able to just be a bit more physical, beat her up a little bit, get a sub probably. Let's move on though, up the card. Peyton Talbot versus Giannis Ghemmouri. I'm taking Giannis Ghemmouri. No, I'm not. I'm taking Peyton Talbot. He's going to win. He's a massive favourite. Shouldn't be that big of a favourite. Giannis Ghemmouri looks like an NPC. He looks like someone who'd be the base model of a customize your character. He's going to lose. He's going to get beaten up badly. He's not as good as Cameron Saman. He's arguably not even as good as Talbot's first, Nick Aguirre. I know if you say that name a different way, it can sound like a slur. But no, he lost to Nick Aguirre. You have to really emphasize the space in between those 2 words. He's going to beat up Giannis Ghemmouri. Giannis Ghemmouri lost to William Gomez. William Gomez is incapable of doing damage to really anyone. And you just kind of got point-fested by him. You're going to lose. This doesn't require a breakdown. Lucas Tracy managed to spend 5 minutes on this fight. I think he might actually have a crush on Peyton Talbot. I do not, so I'm going to swiftly end this breakdown and move on to the next fight. Let's move on. Next up on the card, I got Gene Silva, the autist himself, versus Charles Jourdain. Keeps managing to get people thinking he's going to be anything good and never becomes anything good. That's the tale of the tape here. I'm going to pick Gene Silva, mostly because I like him more than I like Charles Jourdain, and I'm going to start picking people that I actually want to win, because I picked Ikram for whatever fucking reason, because I was retarded, and then I'm I'm rooting for Whittaker to win, but I also want to get my pick right, but I don't want Ikram to beat Rob. So I'm going to stop conflicting my fucking picks with who I want to win, and I'm just going to be fuck it, who cares, a pick's a pick. If I get it wrong, who cares? I'm picking Gene Silva. It's more funny for him to win. It's better for him to win. He's an interesting guy. He's got personality. Those Fighting Nerds guys, he's one of them in that gym there with Kaya Barriault, Mauricio Hufi. Those guys, they're actually pretty solid, and they're actually building a bit of a name for themselves. They're not crazy good. They're no Extreme Couture or anything like that, but they're a pretty underrated gym. So I'm going to pick Gene Silva to have a level up performance from his debut, where he looked good. He beat up, Weston Wilson, the NPC. But to be fair, that win aged amazingly, because Weston Wilson went on to beat the highly touted Indonesian prospect, Jaka Saragi. Of course, if you don't know who Jaka Saragi is, I'm joking. He's the guy that lost to Angel Jubilee. So, has Gene Silva beat anyone that good? No. But I like his style, and I like the pace that he pushes, and he's got good cardio, and I rate his ability to... I think he's the guy that's going to win rounds based on doing more in the last minute. And that's why I think he's going to beat Charles Jourdain, because Jourdain is good at range, but I actually don't think he's got a massive reach advantage here. Let me check. UFC, let me just check. I should have checked this before, but even though Jourdain looks like the longer guy, I don't think he's got a crazy reach advantage, if I'm not mistaken. No, they got the same reach. So no one's got a reach advantage here. Charles Jourdain, his wins, let's look at them and see how well have these aged. Because, he's beat Ricardo Ramos, who's a bit of a bum, went on to lose to Julian Erosa. He beat Kron Gracie, who's a can't strike at all. He beat Lando Venata. Lando Venata ain't all that, subbed him. He beat Andre Eel by decision. Don't know who the fuck that is, I'll be honest. He finished Marcelo Rojo, who's alright. Draw with Josh Coolabau. He beat Doohoo Choi by TKO. But look at this guy's losses in the UFC. Desmond Green, Andre Fili, Julian Erosa, Shane Burgos, Nathaniel Wood, Sean Woodson. Not terrible losses, but let's not act like this dude has just got 1 or 2 losses and he's still some prospect on the rise. I feel like his ceiling has been clearly shown. He's not old, he's 28, so it's not like he can't improve. But I don't know, I'm backing Gene Silva. To be fair, this might end up badly because the way this guy's career go. Actually, no, to be fair, this guy, he went, because this is his record, he went win-win, loss-loss, win-win, loss. So, in my calculations, he's due for a loss. because he needs to make that 2-2. He needs to go 2 wins, 2 losses, 2 wins, 2 losses. That's what he's going to do here. That's my logic. You guys should 100% listen to my breakdown and bet your entire life savings on Gene Silva. No, but in all fairness, his fight on the Contender Series, he went decision. He lost the first round. He does get out-techniqued a lot. He does get sort of out, finessed a lot. But then he kind of just bites down, goes forward, outgasses you, puts the pressure on, and just beats you up a little bit. I don't think he's going to finish Charles Jourdain. Jourdain hasn't been finished. He's got a pretty good chin. But I think he can do a bit more damage, look better for the judges. I think I'm picking him to win a split decision. Might end up being a robbery. Maybe people be like, oh, he was just hitting arms. He wasn't. But I think he's going to do more in the judges' eyes, and he's going to look better. And Jourdain's going to try and be range striking. And, this is another thing. I feel like everyone sees the clip of fucking Jourdain doing his little spider kick and screaming at the end of a fight that he went to a decision with against not that good of an opponent. And people think this guy's some fucking Spartan warrior. Like, he's a good fighter, but he ain't all that, in my opinion. I think Gene Silva's got a bit more upside. I think he's going to look good here. Look better than he did in his debut, where he got tagged a little bit, but yeah, he beat up Weston Wilson, as he should. So yeah, long-winded explanation. I'm taking Gene Silva as a slight underdog. I'm picking a couple of underdogs on the card, I'm being interesting. I ain't just picking favourites. So yeah, let's move on. Next up, we got Swanson versus Andre Fili. I'm taking Andre Fili. This is a pretty confident pick. I just don't rate Swanson at this point in his career that highly. Who's he beaten, really, recently that is anything good? What's he doing in the cage to show us that he's still like a really good fighter? Not saying Andre Fili is excellent, but Andre Fili's losses come to a very specific type of fighter, and I don't believe that is Cub Swanson. Now, let's look at Andre Fili's record, because this dude, his record looks extremely mid. 23-11, not all that good. But losses, let's look at them. Dan Ige, Nathaniel Wood, Joe Anderson Brito, Bryce Mitchell, Sadiq Youssef, Michael Johnson's not a great look, Kelvin Cater, Yair Rodriguez, Max Holloway back in the day. This motherfucker loses to very good opponents. And he doesn't beat crazy good opponents, but Lucas Almeida looked pretty good in his last fight. Bill Aljo, decent. He beat Charles Jourdain, beat Miles Jury, he's beat the GOAT Artem Lobov. But he's looking a bit better, and he's got a bit of finishing potential. His chin ain't awful. He just got KO'd by Ige, which ain't losing to Ige is not that bad of a look. Cub Swanson though on the other side. This dude's 40 years of age. I was saying that as a joke. He's literally 40. He loses his fights a lot. Recently, he hasn't looked all that good. He lost to Hakeem Dawodu. He thought he lost. He got his hand raised. Got beat up by Martinez. Got leg kick TKO'd. He beat Darren Elkins. Sorry, I just don't rate him that highly. Beat Daniel Pineda, beat Kron Gracie, of course. Kron Gracie, we know, very good opponent. His losses, again, not to bad opposition like Burgos, Moicano, Edgar, Ortega. He also beat the GOAT, Artem Lobov. But yeah, at this point in his career, you're a 40-year-old. I'm not picking you to win. I'll pick Andre Fili by decision. I feel like Fili's going to look a bit shit in this fight, and it might be you should have looked better against 40-year-old Cub Swanson, but I think he'll still walk away with the dub. Let's move on, though, up the card. Next up, we got Joe the Salty Man Pyfer. Guys, he hits harder than Ngannou, trust me. And if you don't say that, then you're a hater. He's fighting Marc-Andre Barriault, big Canadian brawler, big Canadian slugger. Marc-Andre Barriault, not all that, in my opinion. Pyfer's going to whoop him. Should win by TKO. If he doesn't win by TKO, if he takes Barriault to a decision, it's really not a good look. Barriault seems like one of those guys who's just some, iron chin brawler that just goes to swing. But I don't know, he's not that good. I mean, he went to a scrap with Chris Curtis, which ain't a bad look. He's lost by TKO only once, so fair play to him there. Got finished by Chidi and Jaquani pretty quick into their fight. But, wins Abu Azaita, Jolche Lungiambula, Jordan Wright, Marquez, Eric Hernandez. These are not good opposition. Losing to Curtis, Hernandez, Jaquani, Yong Park, Christoph Jotko, Andrew Sanchez. He's not losing to crazy good opposition, and he's not beating really anyone good. Joe Pyfer, in his last fight against, Jack Hermanson, the Joker, Jack the Crafty Man Hermanson, he looked okay. He did well in the first 2 rounds, kind of gassed out, got a bit out-experienced, but he's 27, he's young, he'll improve. He's got that fluke arm injury, TKO against Stoltzfus. That's not indicative of how that fight was going. He did get subbed by some dude way back in the day. But apart from that loss to Manson, he was on a 5-fight win streak, looking good. Beating some actually half-decent guys. Abdul Razak Al-Hassan's not awful. He's not great. Beat Gerald Mearshart, the GOAT. So, yeah. Hermansson's solid. Hermansson's solid. Not a bad look to lose to him. Hermansson whooped up Chris Curtis, schooled him, had Chris Curtis having a fucking crybaby meltdown in the middle of the cage, asking Hermansson to trade with him because he couldn't get in range. So, yeah, Hermansson's actually not a bad opponent. Hermansson beats everyone unranked that's not, a crazy good prospect. So, yeah, I'm not going to rate that. I'm not going to fault you that much for the loss. He should bounce back. He should get a finish. If he doesn't, bit of a bum. Let's move on, though, to the main card. I'm picking Joe Pyfer by, round 1 or 2 TKO. Let's move on. Next up, we got Ian the Cuck Garry, Cuck himself, versus MVP. And I'm going to go with Ian Garry. I don't know. I just feel like, when you get the vibe, when you know someone's eventually going to get brutally fraud-checked, or not fraud-checked, but they're just going to lose and they're going to get their momentum stopped. With Ian Garry, I just don't have the feeling that it's now. You always get that feeling. You're like, this guy's going to lose eventually. But, I just don't think it's yet. That's the feeling I got with Ian Garry. I think MVP, he had a great debut. He looked great. Beat up Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland's a bit of a crackhead, bit of a bum, bit of a can. He's not a can. He's not good, though. Kevin Holland realistically beats fuck all anyone good. He loses to ranked opposition and has some moments in the fight where he'll be dance around and do some dumb shit, and then everyone acts like he's good, but his wins are against pretty low level, not low level, but outside the rankings guys. And I picked Kevin Holland in that fight. I don't know why. I was MVP's coming over from Bellator. I was literally just my reasoning for that pick was just Bellator's shit. Most of their fighters are fucking AIDS, and that he's going to lose and get fraud checked. And I was like, Kevin Holland will catch him. You can't just KO Kevin Holland with some highlight reel bullshit. So you're going to get finished. And to be fair, that wasn't a bad reasoning, but Kevin Holland's got the crackhead chin. He can't get knocked out. But MVP just danced strings around him. He was way too quick. I think Ian Garry's not going to struggle as much with the speed. I think he might be at a speed disadvantage a little bit, but I still don't rate MVP super highly. That might be a shitty take. You might be what the fuck? He's obviously a very good striker, but I think he's still got extreme grappling weaknesses. We could see Ian Garry go to the grappling here, and I think we could just see, there's been fights of his that have just been shit with nothing going on. If this guy isn't able to just land on you at will, his fights aren't that fun. His way to winning fights is either just catching you with a crazy KO, highlight reel bullshit, or he just beats you up like he did to Kevin Holland. But if you can't just fucking land on you at will, if you actually have head movement and you actually, are good at fighting, which Ian Garry, as annoying as he is pretty good at fighting. I don't think he's just going to be able to whoop you up and beat you up and use you as a punching bag. And if you're not just a punching bag in front of MVP, it's very difficult for him to win. So I'm going to pick Ian Garry to just be a little bit crafty, slow the fight down a bit, not be real back up, be a scaredy cat, run away a lot, make MVP try and come to him and then get out the way. Maybe try and counter MVP. Maybe he goes on the front foot and makes MVP try and counter him. I don't know, it just doesn't seem like Ian Garry's going to be on the front foot in this fight. Now, I could see MVP winning this fight optically. My first initial lean was actually MVP, but then I kind of thought about it, and maybe I'm going to be wrong. Maybe I should stick with my initial lean from when the fight got announced, but I'm like, this just seems like a fight Ian Garry's going to win. It's not even a crazy amount of breakdown, because I think this fight's going to suck. I think this fight is going to be boring as hell. I think these two are going to stand at range and do a whole lot of nothing, and we're going to see some weird-ass decision where one guy gets at 30-27, one guy gets at fucking 29-28, and the other judge gets at fucking 28-28, or 30-30, because they just forgot to fucking judge the fight. That's what we're going to look at here. I think it's going to be very boring. I don't think it's going to be anything to write home about. I think Ian Garry's going to walk away with a win, lose more fans again. He's gonna, if he has any, to be honest, he's gonna just progressively lose more and more of his star potential. That is my prediction. It's gonna be a terrible fight. Maybe he finishes MVP. That is a crazy take that I could see happening. I'm not gonna pick it because MVP. He has lost by TKO before. He does leave himself out of position sometimes, get caught with some goofy shit, but it doesn't happen often. So an MVP is not a guy routinely KOing people. The Jeff Neal fight was dead. The Magny fight was good, but Magny it's similar. Like, Magny was just a punching bag. Just like Kevin Owens was a punching bag for MVP. They looked real good. And everyone thinks this guy's like some fucking future champ. But then, when you just don't be a punching bag like Jeff Neal, that like against MVP, then crazy. You don't win. Or you don't look that good. So yeah, I'm yapping. I think MVP's going to lose. I think won't be able to land his big shots. I think he's going to be swinging at air a lot of the time. Maybe I'm overrating Ian Garry's defense because he does get caught a bit. But I don't know. I think it will be a boring fight, 29-28. Maybe a split. I'll go with Ian Garry by unanimous decision. I'll pick MVP to win round 1 by just looking a bit better, maybe wobbling Ian Garry. And then round 2 and 3, I think he'll lose. Maybe Ian Garry grapples. Maybe, he just does better on the feet. But yeah, he will out-cuck his way to a victory here because apparently being a cuck is a good way to do well in MMA, judging by how his career has gone so far. So I'm going to pick it to keep going as of right now. But in his next fight after this, I'll probably pick against him, depending on how shit he looks here. But let's move on up the card. Sorry, I'm asleep. Mauro Silva versus Macy Chiasson, the piss break of the card. I'm going to pick Macy Chiasson. Actually, you know what? Let me see. Do I have something to flip here? Alright, I know you can't see this visual, but I have a AirPods case. I'm going to flip it. So I've got the side that has the AirPods on it. The logo side is going to be for Macy Chiasson, and the back side is going to be for Mauro Silva. So I'm going to chuck it up now. And you heard that land, and it landed on the front side. So I'm going to be picking Macy Chiasson to win here. That is my method for this fight. The odds reflect this is a coin flip. This is a snoozer. To be fair, I mean, even though I don't give a singular fuck about the fight, it's one of the more difficult fights to predict on the card. I mean, it's not really difficult to predict. You can just say, who cares? I'm not going to predict this. Do what Lucas Tracy did, just refuse to pick the fight. Kind of valid, honestly. I know I clown him a lot. I clown Lucas Tracy a lot, and I say, bro, you got to pick every fight on the card. You can't just be like, oh, this is a coin flip women's MMA fight. I'm not going to pick it. Like, that's how pick percentages work. You have to have your percentage brought down with everyone else because you pick the coin flip fights that no one cares about. It still has to happen. So I do clown him a bit, but fair enough. I don't blame him for not picking this fight. It's a complete snoozer. Yeah, I don't know. I'll pick Macy Chiasson. She's bigger. She's got like a 5.5. Why does that sound weird? She's bigger. I mean, probably, knowing these two, they both look like they could be men. But yeah, she's bigger in terms of the reach. She's bigger in terms of the upper body size. She's just taller. And in women's MMA, I don't know. If I'm just not seeing anything out of you that's like, damn, this person is crazy good, I'll just pick the fucking person that's bigger, that's got the physical attributes. Macy Chiasson actually looked pretty good in the last fight. And this is something I actually like. She took like 2 years off. She fought Irene Aldana, was winning, got up kick KO'd, up kick TKO to the body, kind of fluky. Came back after 2 years almost, or like a year and a half. And I like that. I don't know what that was, why she took a year and a half off, but she came back and actually looked good and got a finish in the first round. And at women's bantamweight, you're getting finishes in the first round. Hey, that's tough, bro. That's good. Mauro Silva, I was actually pretty high on her going into the fight with Raquel Pennington. I thought she was going to smoke Raquel and actually be like an interesting women's MMA fighter. Unfortunately, I had too much faith in a WMMA fighter being talented. She lost to Raquel Pennington, looked shit. I don't know, she gets submissions, and that's why I think some people will be picking her in this fight. She's got that submission upside. She can catch subs out of nowhere. Chiasson's been guillotined before by Raquel Pennington. So yeah, she could get subbed here, but I don't know, end of the day, I'll pick the bigger person with a bit more physical upside. She beat Norma Jamont, I think. Am I wrong there, or did she lose to Norma Jamont? Macy Chiasson. I think she beat Norma Jamont. She beat Norma Jamont by decision. Which ain't a bad... That's a pretty good win. Norma Jamont's not too bad. So yeah, I think she'll just be too physical for MBS. She'll muscle her around a bit and won't be able to get subbed. I don't know. She might just put her neck in a guillotine immediately and lose. That could happen. But again, coin flip. Let's move on up the card. Next up on the card, Anthony Smith. On paper, he's going to win this fight. And I think we might be on the piece of paper for the first time in history. Because I think he's going to beat Roman Dolidze. I don't know why he's an underdog. Roman Dolidze is awful. Maybe they just... maybe they just don't trust Anthony Smith to ever be a favourite, which is fair. We can see this motherfucker 38-19. If he loses here, you're into 20 losses in your career. That's not a good look. That's rough. But, you know, he gets wins against people. Like, he wins fights. He does lose a lot, but let's look at Anthony Smith. You know, subbed Vitor Petrino, lost to Roundtree, beat Span, lost to Walker, lost to Ankalaev, beat Span, beat Crute, beat Clark, lost to Rakic, lost to Glover, beat Gustafsson, lost to Jones, beat Ozdemir, beat Shogun, beat Rashad, lost, we're going way back here, lost to Santos. This guy's only really fought good opposition, to be honest. Like, Devin Clark is not good, Crute's not good, Petrino's not all that, Span's not all that, but to be fair, Roman Dolidze, who has he looked good against? Because the fight with Vettori, he is the Shamil Gaziev of middleweight. He actually looks pretty similar to Shamil Gaziev. Just smiles menacingly, tries to be intimidating. You know, he does have power. You know, he KO'd Phil Hawes, obviously not a thing that many people can do. But no, he lost to Trevin Giles. He lost to Marvin Vettori, mediocre Marvin. You know, he beat Jack Hermanson because Jack Hermanson decided to be dumb and shoot a takedown and get locked up in the jiu-jitsu. I don't think Anthony Smith's going to be able to just be kind of beat up and on the ground and schooled on the ground by Dolidze. I think Smith's big enough, strong enough to not get whooped up on the ground, to not get folded into a pretzel, put in a fucking calf slicer. I don't think Anthony Smith's doing that. On the feet, again, I just don't rate Roman Dolidze. He was a punching bag for Nasruddin Imavov the entire fight. Now, that loss hasn't aged badly in terms of Imavov went on to beat Cannonier in a perfectly justified stoppage. But no, Roman Dolidze, Marvin Vettori win. Marvin Vettori lost, not all that, who cares. Imavov, he did nothing the whole time. His only method of success in that fight was clinch control against defense. You can't just be relying on clinching with no damage. Like, that doesn't work. Anthony Smith actually has some danger. He does finish people as well. So yeah, I don't know. Phil Hawes, Kyle Dorcas, some bums. Like, Roman Dolidze hasn't even been in the UFC for that long. He's been in the UFC since 2020. He debuted in 2020. And he's actually got a lot of fights in there since then, I think. 6. He's got 9 fights in there. That's not that many, to be fair. But I don't know. Dolidze's not awful, but I just don't like picking him in fights. I don't think I've ever picked him in a fight. I picked Imavov against him. I picked Vettori against him. I picked Hermanson against him. He won. And I wasn't picking fights when he fought Phil Hawes. So I don't know. I just don't think he's all that good. I just don't think, I wasn't like that hardcore of a fan when he fought. I wasn't that into it when he beat Phil Hawes. So I mean, I watched it, but I wasn't picking that fight. Yeah, I don't know. I'm yapping here, as I do. You know, that's what you come to the channel for. But Anthony Smith, I think he'll win. He's got submission threat. He's bigger. I think he'll be way stronger here. Roman Dolidze, I mean, he was booked for fights, so it's not like he's completely out of shape. But going up to 205, I think he'll just look fat. Like, I think he'll just look like a slightly smaller version of Shamil Gaziev with a bit less of a belly. Maybe comes in here. Pause. I said comes in him. What the fuck? He comes in here and that still sounds weird. And gets a win against Smith and becomes ranked in 2 divisions and becomes like the only fucking male apart from Max Holloway to do that in recent UFC. The only male apart from Max Holloway to become ranked in 2 divisions. Maybe that's what we are looking at. Simultaneously, of course. Aljo did it, Figgy did it, but like simultaneously, Dolidze, I just cannot stand to see this guy become, because is Anthony Smith top 10? I think he is. So, if I'm not mistaken, if this guy if this Roman Dolidze motherfucker, this hairball, this furball, if he fucking comes in here and wins, he's going to be ranked number 10 at light heavyweight and number 10 at middleweight. If this absolute bum, who only has weirdly crafty jiu-jitsu and a menacing smile, if this guy becomes top 10 in 2 divisions, it's over for the whole sport. So yeah, I'm picking Smith. Please save us on paper. And then he can call out Alex Pereira and it will be very funny. Let's move on though, up the card. Next up, we got Diego Lopes, the undercover cop, versus Brian the Eagle Ortega. I'm picking Lopes by fucking KO. And it's annoying because I wanted to be the first one to come on here and be like, Lopes is smoking this fool. He's knocking him out in the first. And everyone's like, whoa, that's a crazy take. But no, I've watched a lot of prediction videos and it does seem like other people are in agreement that Diego Lopes should run through Brian Ortega. And I'm saying should like it's like a lock. Like, Brian Ortega could just Eagle Max his way to a win here. You know, he could grow his feathers, he could pluck his talents, he could fly up into the mountains, and he could regrow again and come back better. But I don't think it's going to happen. Ortega, he's on the back end of his career, in my opinion. He's looking a bit shit in his fights recently. The win over Yair, Volk did it first. Volk did it better. Volk was the one that just dominated him on the ground, and then that kind of showed everyone, you can't really stuff takedowns. And then Ortega, you got whooped by him in round 1, dropped by him twice. Yair's not a power puncher. Yair's got dynamic kicks, and he hurts you with knees and kicks and elbows. Yair doesn't really drop people with punches. I was burped. And Diego Lopes, I think his hit's way harder than Yair. That's pretty simple in my opinion. Somehow, Lopes has more fights than this dude. Lopes has 30 fights compared to Brian Ortega, who has 20, which is crazy enough to say. Ortega's 33, he's getting up there. To be fair, Lopes ain't young either. Lopes is young in the UFC, but he's got a very deep combat sports background. He's 29, to be fair, so he's actually, he's still coming into his prime. But Lopes never been subbed. I don't think Ortega's subbing him. I don't think he's going to take him down like he did to Yair. He got taken down by Evloev. Evloev is an elite wrestler, chain grappler, great top control. Ortega just doesn't show me that level of grappling, to be honest. This guy, who's he really, dominating on the ground that's anything to write home about? And I know Lopes hasn't beat anyone crazy good, and he has lost fights. But I feel like this is one of the cases where you look at their regional record and you be like, oh, you lost to Nate Richardson, and you lost to Brito. Brito's not even bad. You lost to Amir El-Zakarayev back in 2018 by KO. And people might be like, oh, that's a terrible look. He's not going to be that good in the UFC. But I think he's one of those guys that comes into the UFC and then he just goes on a tear, because that's what he's done. He fought November 2022, and that was his last win on the regional scene. Then he fought Evloev, because he took about 6-7 months off, comes into the UFC, and I think he's one of those guys that just only really shows his true potential in the UFC. You can't really tell how good he is by looking at his regional scene record, because this guy came in, gave Movsar hell. Movsar, I think he's way better than Brian Ortega. Movsar's actually got good striking too, so it's not like you can say, oh, he got outstruck by Movsar. Movsar's not even good at striking. Movsar is a great striker. He outstruck Allen in round 2, hurt him, cut him open, rocked him. But yeah, Ortega, I don't know. At this stage in his career, I don't rate him that highly. Now, maybe this turns out being the fucking Poirier vs. BSD part 2. I heard Bedtime say that today on his bingo card or whatever. He thinks he's picking Ortega. He thinks that it's going to be the next, the next version of Poirier and BSD. But something I want to say with that comparison, Lopes, in my opinion, better than BSD. Also, Ortega not as good as Poirier. And I think the stylistic matchup is way worse here for Ortega. And the reason I say that is because I don't think he's a better striker than Lopes, at least early. Maybe he's a better technical striker. He doesn't have more power. At this stage, his chin isn't even that much better than Lopes's. And Ortega's not a guy that's rocking people badly and hurting them on the feet, really at all, recently at least. Lopes is so much more dynamic, he's so much more explosive, he's way stronger, I think, than Ortega. Ortega's got a soy build. He does have a soy build. He doesn't grow muscle, he doesn't have muscle insertions on his body. He looks out of shape, to be honest. He's not, but he looks out of shape. He doesn't look he's not a jacked dude that's just tossing people around. He took down the wet rag, the fucking doll, Yair Rodriguez. But Lopes, he beat Sadiq Youssef by KO in a minute and a half. I know Barboza beat Youssef before that, and Barboza just lost to Lauren Murphy, but that was the first time Youssef got KO'd, and who the fuck just ran through Sadiq? Allen went 3 rounds with Sadiq Youssef. Lopes just smokes him in a minute and a half on the feet. Youssef in round 1 absolutely ran through Barboza. Barboza was lucky to get out of there, got the comeback. This guy just smoked Youssef. Pat Sabatini is actually a pretty good fighter. Smoked him. Gavin Tucker's not good, but he's not awful. Smoked him. I'm not saying these guys are Ortega level, but on the feet, I just don't think Ortega's that good. I think right now, in a striking-only match, Youssef on Ortega, Youssef probably loses a competitive decision. So Lopes is running through Youssef in a minute. So I think he's going to catch him with some nasty uppercuts. Ortega's reaction time ain't all that, in my opinion. He's not reacting to shots. He's not slipping and weaving. He's not bobbing and weaving. And he's not, showing crazy head movement. He's not showing, a granite chin anymore. This guy's not just eating punches. So yeah, I think he's going to lose. I think finally we're going to see one of these prospects actually break through into the top 5. We're finally going to see one of these highly touted guys break into the top 5. Because, BSD failed. Other guys, like Fizzy failed against Gaethje. Other guys have failed, but I do finally think we are going to see a Ikram obviously just failed. I mean, Imavov beat Cannonier, but that wasn't like a crazy jump up. Normally we aren't, I mean, O'Malley did beat Yarn, but normally we don't see these guys outside the top 10 beat these top 5 guys. A lot of times they get forward checked. A lot of times they are favourites and people picking them to win. And a lot of times they don't live up to that. But I think this time, Lopes is going to win. He's got plot armor. He's got aura. He's going to win. He's going to call out Movzar again, probably. He's going to set someone up big, maybe fight in the sphere. And yeah, he's going to continue to aura max his way and plot armor max his way to the top 5, to the top of the division. And I believe that's going to happen. Because, if he wins, it's going to just be so fucking annoying. Because I still don't think Ortega's good. Even if he beats Lopes. I don't even think he's that good. If he smokes him in a round, fair play. But, every time this guy wins, it just seems fluky. Or the other guy gasses out or does something retarded. I don't know. Anytime this guy wins fights, I'm just never crazily impressed. Against Yaya, I didn't go out of there going, man, Ortega's legit. He's back. He's a top 3, top 2 guy. He's going to win the belt. I just went away going, yeah, Yaya's got no takedown defense and gassed out after whooping your ass in round 1. So, yeah, I think Lopes ain't going to fumble the finish. I think Lopes hits harder than Yaya not pound for pound, with his hands. He's more dynamic, more explosive. I think he's stronger to stuff the takedowns. He ain't just going to get ragdolled by Ortega. If that happens, then what the fuck are we doing? Yeah, I'm picking Lopes to smoke him, and I hope it happens because we need a new fucking face in the top 5 of one of these divisions. I'm sick of, same with lightweight. I'm sick of, it happened with lightweight, with Poirier, Gaethje, these guys, they beat these guys up and coming, and it's yeah, I'm happy that the old guy won, but we need new faces in the top of the fucking division. So, I think it's going to happen here. I think we're going to get our wish. I think the fans are going to get what they want. Most of them, at least. I know there's some people rooting for Ortega, but I don't think the Eagle is going to rise today. I think he's going to lose, and he's going to lose by KO in the first. Let's move on, though, to the main event. Alex Pereira versus Jiří Prochazka 2. The rematch, highly anticipated. We're all looking forward to it. It's going to be a banger. Someone's getting finished inside 3, I would say, is the max this goes. I think it's happening inside 2. I think it's happening by way of left hook KO for Alex Pereira. And I think this one's going to be a bit more definitive than the first time they fought. Not to say that Jiří's worse or Alex is crazily better, but I think Pereira is going to show out here and put the doubt to bed. He's going to let everyone know, yeah, it was a bit of an early stoppage the first time. I still beat this motherfucker. I'm still KOing him, and I think it's going to happen. I don't know who's going to be the ref, but we could see another early stoppage if Mark Goddard's stepping in there saying, it's over. We could see another early stoppage, but I hope not. I hope whoever wins gets to win by definitive KO or definitive finish at least. And I hope whoever loses doesn't have to walk away going, fuck man, I really could have won that. I thought that stoppage was early. I was still trying to fight back. I'll be honest, I'm normally not in favour of letting guys take 2 shots after they go unconscious. But if we need a definitive outcome for this one, fine. Let it happen. Let the loser take another fucking ground and pound shot just to make sure they're out cold. Just so we actually have a definitive outcome for this fight, because we need closure here. And if Jiří wins, we might not have closure. If Jiří wins, we might do the trilogy. I'm almost certain they will. But if Alex Pereira wins, and he wins by KO like he did against Jamal Hill, then I think we'll have closure and we'll be like, okay, fair enough. Yeah, we're putting this one to bed. Now, the pick of Jiří Prochazka, I've seen people picking him, and I don't hate the pick. Look, it's a valid pick. I do think that this short notice factor, the fact that Pereira has been over in Australia doing meet and greets, signing autographs, having fun, living the life, with his belt as the champion, as the man. Everyone, he's more famous than he's ever been after that Jamal Hill win at 300, the celebration, all of that. He's got more fans than ever. He's got more star power than ever. He's coming in, saving the day. I feel like he might be coming in here being like, yeah, I'm injured, I got the broken toes, but I'll save the day. I'll be that guy. I'll be him. I'll be the Sharma man himself, and I'll just step in and I'll do my thing. With this Jiří Prochazka, he's been working for this. He's been motivated. He's trying to get the belt back. And I always like people trying to get the belt back rather than someone trying to defend it. Now, in some cases, people become way better when they defend. And I do think people become better, but the motivation becomes less. And so, do I think Alex Pereira is coming in here as hungry as he ever was? Is this going to be the most motivated, in-shape, best version of Pereira we've ever seen? No. I think Jamal Hill, the version we saw against him, is going to look better. I think arguably, maybe even the version in the first fight might look better, but even that version didn't look all that good. And something I want to say is I've noticed Alex Pereira looking a lot better as he further goes to his light heavyweight journey. Like Jan Blachowicz, split decision win in his first fight at 205. Didn't look amazing. Looked solid. Didn't look amazing. Even against Ghemmouri, I actually think he looked pretty untechnical, to be honest. Like, he had some great technique, of course. The leg kicks were great. The hooks were good. The finishing sequence was nasty. But he didn't look all that good. He was getting caught a lot by Ghemmouri. He was missing a lot of his shots. He didn't look really good or quick or anything like that. But against Jamal Hill, he looked on. He looked locked in. He looked as good as we've ever seen him, to be honest. Made easiest work of Jamal Hill that he has of pretty much anyone in his career. And so I think he's going to look good here in his, what's it going to be? 4th appearance at light heavyweight? That's crazy to say. This is his 4th appearance at light heavyweight. I think he'll look good here. I think he's going to win. Now, do I think Ghemmouri's got a really good chance? Yes, because in the first fight, Ghemmouri was looking very good. He was landing some good shots, but he was getting fucked up, and I do think we're learning this with Ghemmouri. He has to take a ridiculous amount of damage to come back in fights and to, like, get the opponent a bit gassed, a bit unfocused, and be like, fucking hell, I should have finished this guy by now. And then they lose focus, get chinned, or get caught, like Rakic. Rakic was whooping his ass. Ghemmouri really didn't look good against Rakic. And I saw him at my guru, he's picking Ghemmouri. I don't fault him for it. And he's saying, you know, Ghemmouri was coming back after the surgery the first time. I think he's going to look better here. It's like, yeah, but I feel like he looked worse against Rakic than he did against Pereira, to be honest. Like, he didn't look amazing against Pereira, but against Rakic, he was getting leg kicked up. He was getting tagged up a lot. He really didn't land much. I thought he actually had more success with Pereira in the first round of their fight than he did against Rakic. That was my opinion. And then Rakic was like, what the fuck? Why is he not unconscious? And then he just kind of fell off. But I don't know. Ghemmouri, he took a lot of damage. I know Pereira's coming in here with broken toes. I feel like once you're in the cage, broken toes aren't really going to matter. It's not like an ACL injury. It's not a broken, like, bone. Like, it is, but it's not like a broken shin or like a broken fucking hand where you're fully compromised. Like, a broken toe, once you're in there, you're fine. People break their toes in fights all the time. They just forget about it. They just go through the adrenaline. He should be good. Do I get the vibe Ghemmouri might win and set us up for a trilogy? Yeah, the vibe is kind of on Ghemmouri, in my opinion. But if Alex Pereira wins this, he's pretty much in, like, top 10 status of all time, in my opinion. That might seem a bit premature, but with the work he's been doing and, like, the amount of wins he would then have over top 5 fighters, former champions, all of that, it's nuts. This dude's speedrunning the UFC. I think he's still got his aura. He's still got that I'm him energy, and he's going to look good again here. He's going to put another statement performance and cap off 303. Because Ghemmouri's fun as hell, but even though you beat Glover, that was cool, but Ghemmouri never struck me as the guy who's going to be some champion, like long-reigning champion. He's going to be a fan favorite forever, top 5 guy for a long time. But I don't know. Apart from, like, he beat Glover and then we lost here, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. This guy just doesn't seem like a guy who's going to be like a long-reigning champion. He seems like that guy who's just a bit too crazy, a bit too retarded to be the champ, but he's just retarded enough to be a top 5 guy, if you know what I'm saying. That's not the best explanation, but that's just my vibe. I don't know. Ghemmouri, I don't see him winning the belt again. I think the Glover fight was amazing. I don't think he gets it back. Maybe he does, maybe he wins, maybe we get the trilogy, which would be sick. But for now, I think Pereira's going to win. I think if you are picking Ghemmouri, it is just vibes. Like, you see Pereira win the first fight. Yeah, I get it. He was getting caught a bit. You see Pereira smoke Jamal Hill, look the best he's ever looked, compared to Ghemmouri, who had to go through a war with Rakic and not look all that good, get tagged a lot. Chin probably going to be a little bit softened. I think Pereira's going to come in here, crack him, catch him, drop him in the first. Maybe Ghemmouri recovers, and I think we'll drop him again in the second, finish him. Round 2 KO, TKO. I think this one's going to be more definitive. I think Ghemmouri's going to go out this time. And yeah, we should get a definitive winner here. Maybe round 1 KO, though. Maybe he just does it quickly. But Ghemmouri's definitely got a chance. Anytime Ghemmouri's in the cage, again, Pereira's a favourite for good reason. But you just can't put him as a big favourite because you can just never be confident saying that Ghemmouri's going to lose a fight. But yeah, those are my picks, guys. In-depth breakdown here, big breakdown, almost like 50 minutes, I'm guessing. I can't see the timer on my screen, but I'm guessing it's been a long one. Pause. But yeah, those are my picks on screen, my exact picks. You can see them there. Let me know who you guys are picking in the comments. Which fights are you most looking forward to? I'm probably not going to do any fight companion for this. Maybe I'll do the prelims, but it starts a bit early. And again, I'm having mates over for the cards, same with the Saudi cards. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy the fights. I'll be back with some more videos coming soon. Subscribe to the channel, like, I already said subscribe. Follow my Instagram, Left Lane MMA. And yeah, peace out, guys. Shum.